How we doing, everybody? We have a bunch of questions to answer. I'm just going to go right into it. What are other brands that have great brand communities? Well, I'm not sure they mentioned Jeep in this article, but Jeep is a fantastic example. Minecraft, if you go to YouTube, Minecraft has an unbelievable community. I mean, baseball cards, we could go through, and there are tons and tons of knitting, crochet. We can go through. It's not that hard to do. You have both brand communities revolving around one particular brand, but you also have hobby communities. They're not one brand, but it's more of an activity, like scrapbooking. But you have diehard fans. Photography, oh boy, awesome. The article mentions that companies design scripts and how Vans used them to sell its products to a tight-knit surfer and skateboard community. Vans lost its way for a while and alienated that community as popularity built. Is it dangerous to stray from the script and go after a mass market when your company works so hard to build a strong community? Well, I think this comes down to the top-down versus bottom-up conversations that we've had. Vans lost its way and alienated its popularity that it built because it started making decisions from corporate without either thinking about the community or consulting the community. So there's nothing wrong with having a large community, providing that you have a two-way dialogue with your community. And Vans lost its way by ignoring the community and doing things the way they think it should be done. That's really what happened. Why the common meaning that holds members together often becomes diluted if the brand attempts to grow? Well, I think they used the word ethos a few times in the article. And there are times, if the community fragments or there isn't consistent reinforcement of exactly what the community is centered on, well, then it's easy for a crowd to vary the definition of what the brand may or may not be. So especially when the crowd is large and the crowd is dispersed. There needs to be a way for there still to be a crowd, but certain things be consistently reinforced. Why do some companies have such a difficult time relinquishing control of the activities of its brand communities? Do they view it as having a lack of control over the brand itself? Yes, because these companies grew up in a top-down world. They went to an education system such as getting an MBA, which is nothing but a top-down degree, and no one ever told them about anything along the lines of bottom-up or dealing with a crowd. They think they're executives and they're in charge and they need to dictate order and they have to be in control. Wait till we get to the leadership discussion and we're going to come back to this question and we talk about the different leadership styles and which leadership styles want control and which leadership styles have an easier time relinquishing control. Questions. Successful companies are not built on brand reputation, but on an understanding of members' lives. Okay. I cannot understand this point. As far as I know, brand reputation is a very important factor to build a robust community, and customers are always attracted by a good reputation. Well, again, brand reputation is something you're known for, but you build a stronger connection of a brand with the crowd is if you understand the crowd. Okay? That the crowd decides brand meaning. This is very much in the spirit of Doug Holt and what we were talking about last week in last week's readings. Reputation should come from the crowd and not be something coming from somewhere else. Networking has a strong relationship with branding. Why are online networks only a tool? Well, think about them as a platform. So Facebook is a platform where this platform allows us to do activities with a community to build brand, or to build ethos, or to build crowd, or to build community. I think another way to say this is a couple of years ago we had the Arab Spring, and a lot of the headlines said Twitter caused a revolution. Facebook caused the Arab Spring. And Facebook didn't cause anything. Twitter didn't cause anything. Social networks gave the crowd a tool, a platform, an online network to organize to accomplish some goal. What were Harley Davidson's hired hands? Were they temporary contracted or seasonal employees or something like that? I don't know what you're talking about here. Let me see. I mean, I have a feeling that the old Harley Davidson used, contract workers when they went to do big conferences and rallies and all like that. And when they went independent, as they said, they had the leverage buyout. Then it was the executives that were doing this, which gave them a stronger connection to the particular fan base. Pull-based approach to branding. Pull-based approach to brand building? Is this what Budweiser tries to do with that annual horse and puppy commercials in the Super Bowl? If so, I understand that people look forward to these commercials, but I do not see the relevant connection between horse puppy and alcoholic beverage. I see the emotional connection more so on pro sports memorabilia, tickets, apparel, etc. Would you agree with that? Pull-based? I'm not sure what you mean by pull-based, but I think Budweiser just has I don't want to say a cultural obligation, but they've done an emotional animal commercial for 15 or 16 or 18 or 20 years in a row, to the point where each year we are expecting Budweiser to do something in this genre. It's the Super Bowl. I expect to see a Budweiser cute animal something. Remember past Super Bowls, they had the Clydesdales and they were kicking field goals and stuff like that? So the Budweiser brand does this, where the Bud Light brand does the more party kind of thing with the Super Bowl. Do you know what author means by the following statement? Smart companies define the terms of their community participation but discard all the illusions of control. Well, what happens is smart companies provide parameters. They don't let the community completely self-organize. They don't let the community just a complete wild, wild west. They let the community be in control, but they provide some broad outlines for the community to participate in. I think that's the best way to describe it. Something along the lines as they don't want to tell the community what to do, but they will say that our brand does. Now, okay, let me go back to totally unrelated thing, brand. Jimmy Buffett. Jimmy Buffett has an incredibly strong crowd fan base. He calls them parrot heads. He does not like to tell the fans where Margaritaville is. Even though he has casinos and restaurants and all those things that he actually labels Margaritaville, hotels, But he sets parameters through what the Jimmy Buffett ethos is through the songs and the lyrics. But how the fans envision escape, how they envision going to Margaritaville, he doesn't tell them how to do that. There's no step A, step B, step C, step D. He provides a worldview. He provides an ethos, and then he lets the community enact their own vision of their Margaritaville. And I think Harley Davidson does the same thing. Harley Davidson is about freedom. Harley Davidson is about being independent. Harley Davidson. So anything that fits those themes, I don't know if you want to say terms of the community, ethos or themes of the community, and then they let the community decide the rest. Which comes first, the community of enthusiasts who build the brand or the brand that is attracted to them in the first place? Do they feed into each other? Well, this is the correct answer. Yes, they feed into each other. Is a brand community sometimes not worth the host company if the people are more interested in the social links than the brand itself? That's a very interesting question. Usually when we talk about brand communities, there is an incredibly strong brand behind it. It would be weird to have a strong community without the brand in this case. Which leads me back to the front half of this question. Like Harley Davidson's lucky. They fell into the cultural aspects of the brand. We can go back, and actually Doug Holt's book, we read the one article, and it's one of the cases that the Harvard Business Review article, the book is significantly better. Most of the time, the book is, the article's just as good as the book, and you don't have to buy the book. The Doug Holt article, that's not the case. You should buy the book. And it gives us a whole reason why this ethos exists for Harley Davidson. It's sort of like the same thing with, the Mountain Dew, where the brand, Mountain Dew explicitly went into culture and got that slacker thing that already was out there, and they formatted the brand into it. Harley Davidson fell into this Harley Davidson independent, all this other stuff. They fell into it. It was an absolute accident. Jeep fell into it. But I think the brand comes first. Aren't there sometimes ethical concerns with polarizing people and creating conflict for the sake of building a brand community? There's always ethical concerns. I don't know if we're polarizing people. The brand is not telling people to form a community. The people are self-selecting themselves into the community. And you stay or you don't want to stay. I don't know where the polarizing part. I'm not sure what we were trying to ask on this question here. Okay. Let's get to article number 2 here. Oh, sorry, I'm making you dizzy. What's your personal social media strategy? I think this article probably had the second most number of questions. One of the most mentioned in the article was creating a business profile on LinkedIn. I'm a little unsure with this information I want to put on the site. Would you recommend structuring it like an online resume? Is there any help site or books out there that can help? There are there's books out there, but just go to YouTube and typed in, help me create a great LinkedIn profile. You're going to get a bazillion hits, and they'll show you to do, top 10 things to do with your LinkedIn profile. Type that into YouTube and you'll get fantastic hits. You'll watch 3 to 5 minute videos and they'll really help you with what you want to do. But for all intents and purposes, LinkedIn is an online resume. It really is. Questions. Are your goals personal, professional, or both? If you're asking me, I have personal goals. I have professional goals. Every so often, they both cross over, but usually I have different personal goals and different professional goals. Is your desired audience private? What resources do you have? I don't know if you're asking me or you're asking in general. In a Web 2.0 world, most of the time, the audience is public. I go public. We're going to get to the e-commerce chapter coming up, and we're going to talk about free and the power of free and building an audience. You build an audience through public. What research do you have? I use social media. You know, I believe it's what you're asking. You're asking me. You know, to me, it is LinkedIn, Twitter, blog, YouTube. The four horsemen for me. Not for everyone, just for me. Questions. The author reported that very few of the top 50 executives use social media to spread their own message, and then goes into why leaders should use social media. Do you know the reason for this? Since 2010, has this trajectory been changing with top executives? Well, since 2010, the trajectory has been changing with top executives. Way more people have Twitter accounts and social media accounts now than they've ever had before. Okay? Without question. You know, in the past, leaders had this top-down thing, and leaders really only cared about their stakeholders, which are the employees and the shareholders, and a lot of that information they did not want to go out to the general public. Now we have a different tack where we see CEOs that are specifically talking to the general public, which will influence employees and will influence investors. Is it possible for a CEO to use social media both privately and publicly? Yes. Like 2 accounts on Facebook? Yes. There's no reason why they cannot. Now, I don't know if CEOs are using Facebook exclusively. It's more probable that they're using Twitter or LinkedIn for corporate purposes, that is. If something unwanted or controversial gets into social media, what are the ways to tackle it? I understand that you can delete photos, tweets, and posts. However, before you delete it, chances are they are posted in thousands of other sites in the media. Well, this is absolutely correct. One of the articles that I have that I uploaded into the content area for you, with a New Yorker article, talks about the Wayback Machine, which records everything that there ever was on the internet. It's based in San Francisco. This right here is one of the reasons why most CEOs and companies try to stay away from social media. And you used to be able to stick your head in the sand in the past, but these days, you know, if people are having conversations about you, and you know that they're having conversations about you, and you're not part of that conversation, then guess what? You're really making a mistake. Now, just go back and type in the CEO of Tesla, Elon Musk. He's one that specifically, if there's some disinformation out there, he attacks it head on. He uses social media to prove the point. You know. Question. What are the risks of not aligning one's social media activities with their real world activities? Well, if you are portraying one thing on social and you really don't do that, it's too easy for people to find out. You know, I'll make this up. If you say you are a Harley Davidson rider and you talk about a good game in social media about riding bikes, yet you don't know how to ride a motorcycle, well, then that's a disconnect. That's a violation. You know, last thing you want to do is say that you're a social media expert, and then when push comes to shove, it's really like 3 or 4 people working under you that's doing all the work, and you don't know anything about social media. It's a violation. Can't do that. How do you define the boundary between the professional and personal social media connections? Well, it depends on the individual. You know, some individuals have no boundary between their professional and their personal social media accounts. You know, some people really do not. That their good friends and their main business contacts are the same group. So there are some people that like to separate it further. But I have a lot of friends in LinkedIn. I have a lot of friends in a lot of business contacts in LinkedIn. I have a lot of friends in Twitter. I have a lot of business contacts in Twitter. But Facebook is just friends. Somehow or another, I've been able to keep business out of Facebook. Hopefully it'll stay that way. Do you think it's fair for a company to pass judgment or take actions on an employee or potential employee due to their comments and content on social media that is in no way related to the company or the industry? Well, if it's on social media, the company can easily find out about it. Now, if it has nothing to do with their job, the company, or the industry, then, are they saying stuff on social media that's unethical or in a gray area that doesn't fit with the corporate culture of the firm, even though it's not directly related to the company or the industry? Well, yeah, they probably can. They probably can. If the company is an equal opportunity kind of a company with an ethos and a strong corporate social responsibility pledge, and the employee is a coder, yet out on social media they're anti same-sex relations in a very, very strong way, well, then that employee is probably not a good fit for the firm. Is there such a thing as having a personal social media for public figures? Such thing as having personal social media for public figures? Not sure what you mean by personal. Do public figures use social media? Yes. Do they use it for personal purposes? Yes. Do they use it for public purposes? Yes. Do they use it for professional purposes? Yes. It depends on the individual and depends on the context, but sure. Can we consider social media strategy to build our brand or social media a tool for helping companies perfect their marketing strategies? Oh, can we consider social media a strategy to build our brand? No. We can use social media to not create a strategy. We can use social media to operationalize a strategy. But what's the strategy? Is the strategy CRM? Is the strategy e-commerce and revenue stream? Is the strategy co-creation? Is it marketing research? We need a reason why to use a particular social media. So, can we say brand building? Can we use social media to build a brand, and we're only using social media for brand building? Perhaps. Although that's not probably one of the primary ones I would pull out. Okay. Let me reverse everything I said earlier and say yes. We can say brand building is a reason why we would use social media. This is the why. This is social media would be a platform: Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat. And then you would just have to decide where you and which audience you would want to build with. Okay? Future of shopping. Rather interesting article here, right? Now, even though a bunch of the next articles are retail related, I need you to start thinking about this as our lead into e-commerce, because we think about retail, we're always used to thinking about going to a physical store, and obviously that's changing. So, with the growth of digital shopping, are we potentially saying goodbye to the experience of going to the mall? No. But I can say that the mall better up its game. That if the mall doesn't tell us what's in it for me to a higher level, then it will be too easy to just do digital. But we love going to the mall. We love the experience. We love the social aspect of shopping with a friend. But if the stores are not doing anything over and above what the online is doing, then the stores are going to lose out. You're going to go to the mall for social experience, but you're still going to end up buying online. You might even do it while you're at the mall. Right? What's the cost to implement an omni strategy? Is it expensive? How retailing can implement? I have no idea how much this costs. It is very expensive. And guess what? If they don't do it, they're not going to survive. I mean, that vignette, that little story about, actually it's in the next article, the digital physical mashups. How, they wanted to buy this video game online and it was 20 something bucks. They went into the store, it's 47 bucks. And they're trying to say that, the online store and the physical store are not the same company. I mean, consumers don't care about that. If you don't have an Omni, it is expensive. There's a ton of back IT. I don't know how much it is, but it's, very few firms do this well, by the way. Questions. Will the use of patents play a role in which online retailers survive? It's very interesting that Amazon patented the one-click. Sure, patents, when it comes to intellectual property, they help. I don't think the one-click checkout is the only way to go. As a matter of fact, with this thing, there isn't one click. You just kind of put your thumb on the thing and say that's a bip, and that's it. So there's more than one way to do it, but yeah, sure, intellectual property is good. I find shopping in stores a chore. How can retailers do a better job of promoting the experience of shopping? Should retailers focus more on services like they provide in-store to attract new customers? I can see how companies like Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops could thrive. But what about less fun environments like shoe stores and supermarkets? Well, less fun environments, less, use your language from last week, experiential environments are not going to survive. They're not. They're not. Because cheaper prices and convenience can be found online. So what is the physical store offering? Hopefully, face-to-face knowledge and being able to talk to someone. Maybe credit terms, maybe return policy. I don't care where you buy your cell phone online, but many times you have to go to a Genius Bar to get things worked out because there's some complications. The experience better be really good in the retail store, otherwise the retail store is not going to survive. How hard is it for companies to ensure maximum satisfaction for customers when implementing such radical changes in the technology or processes? While many people would be in the favor of progressive changes in retail processes, it's important also not to isolate the more traditional customer. I don't know. The more traditional customer is getting less and less and less and less common. And at some point, you got to draw on this line in the sand. You have to go forward. Because if you keep maintaining the traditional customer base, by the time you have to switch, all your competitors already switched before you. And they've already started attracting all the new customer bases. And then you have no shot at them. I would move forward as quick as you possibly can. What company would prove to be an interesting case study on omnichannel? Apple? Target? Are there any other retailers currently attempting to implement new innovations to their existing business model? Yeah. I mean, 2 articles from now, we're going to talk about Williams-Sonoma. That's pretty impressive. REI, very impressive. LL Bean, very impressive. Omnichannel is the way to go. I mean, there's no reason why Walmart cannot do a better omnichannel job when they have all that inventory in all those stores. And, they're getting there. Let me leave it at that. How Pinterest puts people in the stores. Very interesting little article here. I'm sure you wished all the articles were this long or this short, depending on how you would do it. Does Pinterest use the same technology as Amazon to suggest interest personalized individually based on their searches, pins, etc.? Broadly speaking, yes, but Pinterest algorithm and the stuff that they do isn't 1/20th, 1/50th of what Amazon has. These two companies are not in the same league. Conceptually, it's the same thing, but not only has Amazon been around so much longer, they put so much more time and resources into the recommendation engine. Pinterest does theirs more on a more simple algorithm based on other people's pins, so they can make some recommendations, but not nearly to the level of Amazon. Would you consider Pinterest a microblog? That's a really good question. And when it comes down to it, yes, I would have to consider Pinterest a microblog, because Pinterest is less than considering a 300-word post. A blog, let's say a blog is 250 to 500 words. We started off with blogs, then we got social media like Facebook, where we're writing a couple sentences or maybe a paragraph. And then we got the Twitter and Tumblr, which were true microblogs. And then we're getting to all this visual oriented, which is Pinterest, Snapchat, Instagram. They're all microblogs. They're just doing it visually. Do you think that push advertisements to users of social media sites like Pinterest could be adding to people's mentality of ignoring online advertising? That's another really good question. So what happens is my issue here is when Pinterest, when there's a push notification, it's either from someone we're following or something we're really interested in. Maybe you like motorcycles and you pin all these motorcycle things, and then you get pushed information about updates from motorcycle things that you pinned on your Pinterest board. Well, you pay more attention to that than if you're playing Candy Crush and some random ad popped up. You're not thinking about an ad when you're playing a game. It's a disconnect. It's sort of like when you're watching TV, you see an ad for going on vacation, and you just went on vacation, got back from vacation a week ago. So you're not paying attention to that ad. Where stuff that you do within Pinterest or stuff that are pushed to you based on recommendations are more with what you're currently thinking about or doing. It's sort of like a more direct route versus a more indirect route. If you want to get geeky, this is the elaboration likelihood model of advertising. And the direct route is always better, which is why Google search is always is a advertising juggernaut. Because whatever you're searching on in Google search is what you want to see. You're not searching on bicycles and getting recommendations for boats. You're searching on bicycles and getting ads and recommendations on bicycles. You're not watching a soccer game and getting recommendations on boats. When you're watching a soccer game, you just want to watch the soccer game. Care about soccer, not boats or cars or McDonald's. That's the indirect route. Are there other ways companies can use Pinterest to drive people to their stores? Well, I think the companies can facilitate. They could take that catalog and break it down into LL Bean could take their catalog and break it down into all little pieces and make it more pinnable. You can do things like that. And the more people pin, the more that traffic will drive people into the stores. Pinterest still does not have a great e-commerce model at the moment. In other words, you pin something, but can you buy it directly? And not so much. Pinterest is not Amazon. The digital physical mashups. This is a new article this year, a very cool one I might add, from an author we've seen before. I agree with the author that the physical presence is very important. However, I think that touch feel can be overcome with user reviews and comments on it. Amazon, do you agree? Do you think that touch feel physical can overcome user reviews and comments on Amazon? That's a hard question. I don't know if we're going into the user reviews on Amazon if we're in the store. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. We do know that experience is very powerful. And we do know experience trumps a whole lot of things. Especially if it's your own personal experience. You may read a review on Amazon, but you may or may not trust the person who did it because you don't know them. But a friend, a family, or yourself and your own experiences probably are stronger. That's kind of where I would come out on this question. By agreeing to a digital physical model, also omnichannel, that's another way to say it, does a company run a higher risk of losing its physical component due to rapid rate of innovation in the digital world? Well, what the digital physical, each has advantages and each has disadvantages. You maximize the advantages from both channels. Could be the physical be nothing more than a gigantic showroom of what people buy online? Could the physical really be about the showroom and repair and fix? Could the physical be more about the after-sales service and community building that the digital cannot do? See, I don't want you to think about either or, and I don't want you to think about physical in terms of what we've grown up with. This omnichannel, this digital, I still can't say the word, where they take digital and physical and they make one word out of it. Digitical. The article mentions E-Trade and Ameritrade investing in physical branches. And they should. This is a very specific product line. Could other e-commerce sites go physical? Well, in the last 2 years, we're seeing lots of them do that. They were born digital and then going physical. Warby Parker is a perfect example for my people that wear eyeglasses out there. Who do you think are best suited for the transitions? I think the easier ones to do it are the ones that have a slightly upscale or a product that you don't need as many physical stores. For instance, eyeglasses, you could go to the major metropolitan areas and open 1 or 2 stores. But if you had a product that's really like low cost, like a digital version of something like Coca-Cola, where it needs to be everywhere, well then it's harder to do both e-commerce and physical because there'd be so much need for the physical distribution and location and logistics. Something where you can control the number of sites that you would have to do physical is probably would be better suited for the transition. Like where you could go into a Boston and open like 2 stores and that would be it. Maybe 1. Something along those lines. You go into a Manhattan and maybe you would have 1 in Lower Manhattan and 1 in Midtown. And that would really cover it. For large companies with hundreds of locations around the world, isn't it a difficult task to bring physical and digital operations together? Oh, hell yeah, it is. On its face, it seems like too much ground to cover. Well, it may be a hard job. It may be a lot of ground to cover. You may have no choice. Because that's the way the industry's going. Maybe it's better, instead of having 15 stores in Manhattan, that you really only have 2, and the 2 are more like showrooms, and everything else happens online. But you still need the physical for the traditional customers, and for the after-sales service, and for the community building. But do you need 15 stores? Maybe not. Our last article, just a couple questions. I thought it was neat to be able to hear directly from a CEO. Do Williams & Sonoma have any key marketing or analytic weaknesses? Well, we don't learn this in the article. I don't know that much about Williams & Sonoma other than what I read in the article. Do they? I'm sure they do. I mean, Williams & Sonoma does not have the eBay, Netflix, Target, CVS, Walgreens, Kroger data. They're not as good of data as many of the other companies are. So, they still have a lot more that they could do. The recommendation engine on Williams-Sonoma is it's not in the same ballpark as Netflix, eBay, Amazon. No. We all know IKEA is the leader of retail furniture retailers, and IKEA has an awesome website and a catalog to design for customers. How could Williams-Sonoma compete with IKEA or other giants in the furniture industry? They can't. They absolutely can't. And they don't. And they never will. I mean, you read in the article that one of the key components to Williams-Sonoma and all their other brands is personalization. IKEA does no personalization whatsoever. Williams-Sonoma is much more of an upscale, significantly higher priced. IKEA is, cheap chic for the masses. They're totally different categories. They don't compete with each other. Not even close. Is market-oriented culture a prerequisite for a company to carry out politically sensitive digital decisions? Like Williams-Sonoma taking the stocking decision power away from local merchants in favor of data analytics and algorithms. Well, if the local store doesn't have the data analytics and algorithms, and they don't have the time, energy, or resources to really know what's happening in that store, then there's no reason why the local level is making such powerful decisions. This would be more of the third interfunctional communication, between local division and corporate division. Is it a prerequisite for a company to carry out political decisions? I don't know if it's a prerequisite, but I could certainly say that market-oriented firms that see the consumer behavior changing, that see the competitor trends, both external-oriented kind of things, has that strong inter-firm communication, will have an easier time making a decision, whether it's politically sensitive or not, like this. Okay, class, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your energy. I look forward to seeing the next set of readings tomorrow and creating another reading video for you before the end of the week. Thanks.